and welcome to this short demo on how we can edit the Python code generated for bird transformations from the Freebird application. So we showed before that we can generate this file, fo5 ref and rep3 logic, and it looks like this is sort of the information about, mostly about joins and generation rules of bird. And so the first thing we can look at is this thing called a base class, which has as a function for each item in the fo5 output layer. And the output layer is what we do these filters on in the filter code. We can see this in the bird website. Also, we would see here for fo5 this list of dimensions and metrics. This is basically the output layer. All the things we use in these filters. Now for each product, we looked at the cube links and created a similar Python function. And it's product specific. So for example, type of instrument came from instrument table, type of instrument. Party role type came from instrument entity role, assignment, party role type, etc. Now occasionally we have to do some small changes here, so I'll describe a few here. So for example, we sometimes have the case where there's no collateral for a loan, so we need to be careful on that. So we're going to change, here's what I changed before, we're just going to change this function to take care of the case where there's no collateral. Then we're going to look at this thing here, repayment rights. This is interesting. We have to use a bit of our domain knowledge or knowledge about the bird data model. We know from the logical data model, which created the input layer, that in this version, bird 6.5, repayments rights is not actually available on other loans. It's only available on some other things like on-demand and deposits. So we need to take care of this case. We'd also find that if we looked at the validation rules for the input layer and bird, repayment rights are not needed for the type of instrument that relates to other loans or term loans. And so here we default the value of repayment rights to an appropriate value for fo5. In this case, 2, which was other than the on-demand or short notice. And then we notice here it didn't actually create a value for non-negotiable indicator, because this is something, we only have a non-negotiable flag on securities, but we know that we can, for fo5, we can treat that value as non-negotiable. And let's just put it here at the start. And everything else is fine. So this is the code that reflects our cube links. It knows how to get things from the input layer to populate things in the output layer. We make a short note here that if we execute a particular report cell, we ask for a value for that. It calls into these functions, but it only calls into the functions it needs. So if, for example, in the cell here, the financial other term loans, if it didn't use all of the items in the output layer in these filters, then we wouldn't actually call into the functions that weren't used. So quite an important point. It shows that we're not actually creating things that are not needed. We're only creating things if and when they're needed. This is part of the sort of functional approach that we take. Now the other things here that need edited are the functions that make they basically represent the joins. So let's find that one for other loans. this is it. So it gives us a bit of an instruction here, fills in everything it can, but we're going to fill in the actual details. So here's one I created before. Table looks the same, but we have this calculation of other loans where it looks through all the instrument roles, and instrument role table gets its instruments, checks where type of instrument is for 1022 for term loans, gets the instrument, looks at the instrument entity role, gets the entity role, and from the entity role gets the party, and it creates this object called other loans, and it sets these things: instrument role, instrument, etc. This is how we get a very good lineage in the system, and those were later used in what we just set before, where we said, for example, other loan. It has these things available. It has the instrument available, the instrument available, so it can get things like type of instrument from the instrument. So let's just copy this one we did before. Loan into the okay, and that's us done. That's done our edits. One related to join, and any small amendments related to the cube link. So we can see the framework is generating probably 95 to 98% of the Python code that we need from the definitions of the bird artifacts. We make some small changes, and then we end up in a situation where we can execute. We have all the code to execute data points, so we can choose a report cell, put some test data in the database, and execute the code. We'll see that in another video shortly. I hope you found that interesting. Thank you for watching.